Hello and welcome to Washington Exec's video series. I'm your host, Amanda Ziadeh, and with me today is Jay Bellissimo, U.S. General Manager of IBM Federal and Public. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jay.
Thank you, Amanda. I look forward to our conversation.
Right, me too. So as the nation prepares for the incoming Joe Biden administration, IBM CEO wrote a letter to President-elect Biden congratulating him, but also recommending some policy initiatives focused on technological innovation. So I wanted to ask if you can start by telling our audience a bit about the recommendations IBM has made and why IBM felt the need to share them.
Thank you. Yeah, IBM has a long-standing history of introducing technology that can make a difference in the world. And when you look at everything going on in our world, especially over the last 10 months, it has really been challenging for everybody around the world, and in particular, the communities and the people we serve. And that's really at the heart of our initiatives. So when we look at the big picture of the technology and looking at how we can really tap into the technology for the greater good, we're going to continue to drive those initiatives. So specific to the letter Arvind Krishna, our CEO, sent to the incoming Biden administration, we focused on 5 things that we feel are paramount to the country as we move forward. The first was the promotion of inclusion, opportunity, and sustainability. Second was fueling technology innovation. The third was building trust through precision regulation. And the fourth was modernizing America's digital infrastructure. And the last is maintain America's leadership in trade. And those are 5 important areas, and any one of them will have a lasting impact. But in a couple of examples, when you look at those initiatives, just think of everything we've been through recently around George Floyd and some of these other really important social issues that we've experienced. There's a lot that can be done, and we've prided ourselves at IBM as driving that type of change and making a difference and just getting involved to make our voices heard. And then you extend it to some other areas. I talk about precision regulation. As you know, we were one of the we're at the forefront of artificial intelligence, AI. And you have to be able to usher this in a very responsible way, whether it be how the technology is being used or just the skills that are going to be required as we move forward as a country and as a society, because we think there's lots of opportunity to leverage technologies like this, 5G, quantum, but it's going to be equally important to have the skills and equip the next generation of the workforce to have those skills, as well as retool the current workforce. So those are the 5 areas of focus, and just a couple of quick examples of why they're important and how we're going to do our part to make sure we make a meaningful difference in the people and the communities we serve.
Can you expand a bit on the recommendations that revolve around modernizing digital infrastructure and promoting technological innovation? These particularly fall under your area of focus.
Yeah, so there's lots of wonderful examples of the need for infrastructure modernization, whether it be infrastructure or the applications. And really, to do it the right way, you want to do both. You just can't do a so-called lift and shift of the infrastructure without really looking at the applications, because they go hand in hand, because that's where the value is going to be extracted. At the heart of that, and it's a real big part of our focus, is really the hybrid cloud and the architecture that goes with it, because it's going to be increasingly important as governments, and specifically the organizations. They're large organizations that have systems that are decades and decades old. And as we look at how we best serve the citizens and really be responsive and provide that ultimate experience to the citizens, as well as ensure that those critical missions are being executed, we need to make sure that we're modernizing. And so the point being, with hybrid cloud, we want to make sure that we're able to use all the different technologies and have a multi-cloud approach, so that you're not locked into one vendor versus another, because ultimately these big organizations in the government that are going to need to transform are going to need to have the flexibility and the agility to be able to take their legacy environments and move them to the cloud, or the journey to the cloud. In a lot of cases, on average, many of those organizations have between 6 and 15 cloud providers. So to have a hybrid architecture basically gives you that flexibility to have a multi-cloud environment, so you can use the best of all the different clouds in those capabilities. And that will provide organizations the opportunity to really accelerate their application infrastructure modernization And then when you start to factoring our Red Hat technologies, they're focused on open ways of making sure that you can make this shift to those different environments and connecting those on-premise legacy environments all the way to public and private clouds. That's going to be a real game changer. And that's going to probably be the single most important way these large organizations are able to transform at the rate and pace needed to stay ahead of where they need to provide those exceptional services to the citizens, as well as, again, protect the country's interest in terms of making sure that we can operate those mission critical applications.
Yeah, why is it so important for the Biden administration to encourage federal agencies to adopt these technologies? What potential do they hold?
Well, they have a lot of opportunity to unlock value, but to just start, the most important thing is making sure that we are leading in innovation. This country has always led in innovation. And a lot of it has been through very progressive thinking, but also the technologies. And that's why for over 109 years, IBM is honored to be part of that as we start to introduce these technologies. I mentioned AI earlier, hybrid cloud, but it's important for the Biden administration because we've always been a leader as a country in innovation. And it will give us an opportunity to continue to use these technologies and do it in a very accelerated way. But ultimately, it comes back to what's the value delivered. And the value delivered is enriching those experiences with the citizens. Again, it comes back to protecting the country, the security, those making sure we can execute those mission critical applications. And we feel we're in a great position. And then lastly, the skills. It's going to be very important to make sure that we have the skills to be able to provide these environments and these solutions as we move forward.
Right, wonderful. Well, we'll certainly share the letter in the link below for our audience, and appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Jay.
Well, thank you, Amanda. Appreciate the opportunity. Take care.